The first time the black SUV rolled onto our driveway, my sister thought it was a buyer. She smiled. I didn't. Two uniformed officers stepped out. Not local police. Not collectors. United States Army. The air shifted. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Is this the residence of Margaret Hale? One of them asked. My sister's smile faltered. I stood behind her, silent, watching the beginning of the end. My grandfather wasn't just some retired veteran who told war stories at Thanksgiving. He was General Thomas Hale. 4 stars, classified missions. The kind of man whose name never made headlines but reshaped them. To the country, he was a legend. To me, he was quiet mornings in his study. Chess at dawn. Lessons in patience. Lessons in silence. Never show your full hand, he used to say, moving a rook without looking up. He never favored anyone, but he trusted me. When he died, the family tore itself apart over the will like vultures over a carcass. My sister Margaret was the loudest. She always was. She got the lake house. My parents got the investments. I got something small, something unimpressive. A sealed metal case from his private study. Margaret laughed when she saw it. Probably old medals, she said. Or dusty junk. I didn't correct her. I didn't open it in front of them. That was my first move. I found out she sold it 3 weeks later. I wasn't supposed to know, but Margaret has always underestimated me. She mentioned casually at brunch that she'd cleared out some of Grandpa's clutter. To help with estate taxes, she avoided my eyes. Clutter. The word hit harder than grief ever had. I checked the storage room that night. The case was gone. The security camera I had installed quietly months earlier showed everything. Margaret, a locksmith, a man in a gray van. They broke the seal. They pried it open. They never understood what the red insignia meant. They thought the documents inside were historical artifacts. They were wrong. Very wrong. Inside that case were classified operational records tied to an ongoing black budget program. Not declassified. Not public. Not even fully retired. Grandpa hadn't left me money. He left me leverage. And a test. The moment I confirmed the sale, the grief burned off. In its place, clarity. Grandpa's final lesson. I didn't confront her. I made a call instead. Not to the police. To a number etched into the inner lid of the case. I memorized it the day I opened it alone in my apartment. The voice that answered didn't introduce itself. I gave them my grandfather's name. Silence. Then, where's the material now? I told them it had been illegally sold. I didn't tell them who did it. Not yet. They didn't ask many questions. They didn't need to. For the next 2 weeks, I said nothing to my family. Margaret bragged about the antique military collector who paid 6 figures for the case and its contents. She bought a new car, posted pictures, captioned them. Grandpa would have wanted me to enjoy life. I watched. I documented. I forwarded the security footage anonymously. I sent timestamps, license plates, transaction details. I let the military build the rest. They move quietly when they want something back. And they always get it back. The morning the SUV arrived, Margaret thought it was another delivery. She walked down the driveway in heels. Confident, careless. The officers didn't smile. They presented federal credentials. They asked about unauthorized sale of restricted defense materials. Margaret laughed at first. You must be mistaken. They weren't. When they mentioned my grandfather's rank, her face drained of color. When they mentioned potential charges under the Espionage Act, her knees nearly buckled. She looked at me then. For help. For denial. For anything. I held her gaze. Calm. Still. The same way Grandpa used to. I didn't know, she whispered. That was the moment. The pivot. Power shifting. You never asked, I said quietly. The officers requested entry. They didn't wait long. They confiscated financial records, devices, contracts. The buyer had already been detained. Apparently, military intelligence doesn't enjoy scavenger hunts. The confrontation happened in our living room. No shouting. No theatrics. Just consequences unfolding with clinical precision. Margaret tried to turn it on me. Why didn't you tell us what it was? Because you would have sold it faster. Because you've always treated legacy like currency. Because Grandpa knew exactly who you were. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I said, it wasn't yours. That was enough. The officers confirmed that the materials were part of an active classified archive. Unauthorized sale constituted federal crimes. Serious ones. She kept repeating, I didn't know. Ignorance doesn't erase signatures. or bank transfers, or recorded footage. I watched the realization spread across her face as the gravity sank in. Not fear of prison, fear of losing control, of not being the one holding the cards. For once, the charges didn't fully stick. The military rarely likes public trials involving classified content, but the fines did. The asset freezes did. The investigation did. Her accounts were drained, covering legal costs and penalties. The lake house was sold. The car was repossessed. And her name? Attached permanently to a federal inquiry, quietly, indelibly. The family never learned the full truth. They think it was a misunderstanding, a paperwork issue. I let them believe that. I never told them what Grandpa really left me. Not the documents. Not the number inside the lid. Not the authority tied to my name alone in a sealed codicil they never saw. He hadn't just trusted me with secrets. He'd transferred custodial rights. I was always the intended guardian. Margaret just accelerated the lesson. Sometimes I sit in Grandpa's old chair, the recovered case resting beside me. The red insignia still intact. Untouched now. Safe. I think about that morning. About the SUV. About Margaret's smile fading. I don't feel rage anymore. Just equilibrium. She thought she inherited property. I inherited power. Grandpa once told me that real strength isn't loud. It waits. It watches. It lets others expose themselves. And when the time comes, it steps in. Just like the military did.